Okay, so you may or may not be aware, but there was a hearing, a congressional hearing, with a bunch of Ivy League schools. And Elise Stefanik asked a very simple question, which was basically if somebody at a protest on campus called for genocide against Jews or against Israel, would that be okay? Would that be considered free speech on the college campus? Is it in the policy that it would be okay? And they all hemmed and hawed and said that there's nothing in the policy against that. So, do I think they're anti-Semitic? No. Was it a case of accidental anti-Semitism? Definitely at least that. So, the fallout continues from that, and all I can say is thank you from the bottom of my heart for that. I actually agree with Elise Stefanik on something. Why are you doing this to me? As if I didn't feel ill enough. Anyway, to the article. Harvard University's president apologized as pressure mounted for the University of Penn's president to resign over their testimony at a congressional hearing on anti-Semitism that critics from the White House on down say failed to demonstrate they would stand up to anti-Semitism on campus. Gee, what gave it away? Saying that calling for the genocide in Israel is perfectly fine? I can't imagine where you got the idea that they're not standing up to anti-Semitism. In an interview Thursday with the Crimson student newspaper, Harvard President Claudine Gay said she got caught up in a heated exchange at the House committee hearing and failed to properly denounce threats of violence against Jewish students. That was literally the reason you were there. So, why was that? I mean, I understand that the Republicans, by and large, are just there to be annoying little gnats that you just want to squish. But, seriously? I mean, you're in the educational field. I doubt you started as a president of an Ivy League school. I'm sure you've dealt with teenagers. They're not exactly reasonable, which basically is how Republicans act. So, how is this surprising for you? You should be able to handle this. Or at least prepare yourself for the fact that, you're supposed to defend not just free speech, but denounce violence. I'm not sure why this is a surprise that came up, since that was the reason you were there. Violence on campuses because of pro-Palestinian protests that some people decided was a great time to show their anti-Semitism. I do not understand why this was surprising. I mean, what heated exchange? Anyway, meanwhile, lawyers for a major donor to Penn, Ross Stevens, wrote to Penn's general counsel on Thursday to threaten to withdraw a gift valued at $100 million because of the university's stance on anti-Semitism on campus, unless Penn President Liz McGill is replaced. So, yeah. You know what? Whether they're anti-Semitic or not, they're getting their just desserts for being complete and utter boneheads. Because like I said, maybe they're not anti-Semitic. Maybe they're unlike Elon Musk, true absolutist for free speech, which unfortunately the led to the unfortunate circumstance of them looking anti-Semitic. Now, it would have been nice if it was balanced with if the same thing was said towards Palestinians, so they could show that their equal opportunity, free speech, hate speech is okay, which is still not a great stance, but at least they would show that they're consistent. But as it stands, Gay and McGill's testimony have drawn intense national backlash. Yeah. As have similar responses from the president of MIT, who also testified before the Republican-led House Education and Workforce Committee on Tuesday. Donors, alumni, and members of Congress in both parties have called for their resignations. So, yeah, that's just... At issue was a line of questioning that asked whether calling for the genocide of Jews would violate the university's code of conduct. Okay, I wasn't sure if it was Jews or specifically Israel. I'm not sure. I wasn't sure. So it was Jews. At the Tuesday hearing, Gay said it depended on the context. What fucking context? Adding that when speech crosses into conduct, that violates our policies. Okay, so if someone is calling to kill all Jews, that's perfectly fine as long as they don't pick up a gun and actually try to kill a bunch of Jews. What? Has this person never heard of hate speech? Ever? Hell, just look at a Trump rally. Do not tell me that these attacks by the right wing is in a vacuum. My God, how in the world did you become president of anything? Gay told the Crimson she was sorry, saying she got caught up in what had become, at that point, an extended combative exchange about policies and procedures. Again, that's why you were there, and yes, Republicans can be seriously annoying, but, like I said, I doubt you started off as a president of an Ivy League school. How are you not used to combative exchanges? Have you been in your ivory tower too long? I do not understand. Yes, it's annoying, but to decide, oh, I got all heated, so I accidentally called for the genocide of Jews? Huh? I mean, she didn't call for it, but to say that that was okay, as long as it didn't become conduct? I realize there is a fine line between hate speech and just, hate speech and just being fed up with something. But really? You have to wait for conduct? Alright. What I should have had the presence of mind to do in the moment was return to my guiding truth, which is that calls for violence against our Jewish community, threats to our Jewish students, have no place at Harvard and will never go unchallenged. Okay. You were simply asked if the genocide of Jews would be okay under your policy. How? Now, granted, I didn't see the rest of this exchange, and again, a lot of these Republicans are asshats, and they just exist to annoy people. But at the same time, this is literally the reason why you were called. You knew this was going to happen. So I still don't understand why you had to realize now that you said something really boneheaded. And then made me agree with Elise Stefanik, which I will never forgive you for. McGill walked back some of her comments Wednesday, saying she would consider a call for the genocide of Jewish people would be considered harassment or intimidation. She also said she would launch a review of Penn's policies, saying they have long been guided by the U.S. Constitution but need to be clarified and evaluated. Again, I do not understand how, at the moment, this wasn't, clear. I mean, either they are free speech absolutists and didn't even realize hate speech is a thing, which, I'm sorry, what reality do you live in? Or they are anti-Semitic and, just figured that this was the safe way to go about it. Either way, they figured out that there was people calling for their heads figuratively, and now they're desperately trying to hang on to their jobs because they done fucked up. Universities across the U.S. have been accused of failing to protect Jewish students amid reports of growing anti-Semitism following the October 7th Hamas attack on Israel. The three presidents were called before the committee to answer those accusations, but their lawyerly answers drew renewed blowback from opponents. And that's what I was saying. That is literally why they were there. So this idea that, I was caught up in a combative exchange. No, you weren't. Even if you were. You knew what the reason you were there was. So why was that used as an excuse? Yeah, they suck at excuses. The White House joined the criticism of Gay McGill and MIT President Sally Kornbluth, with a spokesperson saying calls for genocide are monstrous and antithetical to everything we represent as a country. So, yeah. No, they didn't actually call for it, but they actually said that they each one of them basically said that under their policy, as long as nobody ever acted on the mention of genocide, it was okay. I'm sorry, no. I really do not understand how three people can go in front of a committee to answer about how you're protecting your Jewish students and seriously drop the ball on that question. It's not like this was a gotcha question. This was a pretty straightforward question. I mean, I just do not know what to say. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, oh wow, that's hard, a Democrat, also called McGill's testimony unacceptable and urged trustees there to consider McGill's job. Okay. On Thursday night, he joined Jewish students at Penn to mark the start of Hanukkah with a menorah lighting on campus. And that just makes everything worse. I mean, first there is the boneheadedness of what those three said. And last night was the start of Hanukkah. I just can't. People are just so stupid. Ugh. This is proof that when people try to throw it in your face that they went to an Ivy League school, no, that doesn't make you automatically intelligent just walking on their campus, because this is proof. Oh my God. Well, George W. Bush is also proof, but that's an entirely different conversation. Penn trustees remained quiet about McGill's future, although they were scheduled to meet this weekend, Shapiro said Friday. Yeah, she's not keeping her job. I mean, even the governor is is calling for her head. Yeah, she's out. It's just a matter of who's going to replace her. The episode has marred Gay's early tenure at Harvard. Oh, she's new. Oh, that makes it so much worse. She became president in July. Oh, dear God, and she's already having issues. What did she think she was getting herself into exactly? And so discord at the Ivy League campus. Oh, wow, so she's been doing really well. On Thursday, Rabbi David Wolpe resigned from a new committee on anti-Semitism created by Gay. Well, can't say I blame him. I mean, you know, if you have the feeling that your school president is actually an anti-Semite, now she said something completely boneheaded that does not make her an anti-Semite, just a complete bonehead. But yeah, that doesn't look good. And I don't blame him for wanting to resign. I mean, it's great that she created this committee, but it makes you wonder how effective it's going to be if the person who created it says stupid shit like that. In a post on X, formerly Twitter, Wolpe said, "Events on campus and the painfully inadequate testimony reinforce the idea that I cannot make the sort of difference that I had hoped." A statement from Gay thanked Volpe for his work, and I hope I'm saying his name right, saying he helped deepen her understanding of the unacceptable presence of anti-Semitism here at Harvard. Wait a minute. You developed a committee just so they could tell you that anti-Semitism exists? Ugh. Open a fucking history book. Jesus Christ, Harvard isn't some bastion where the minute you walk through these magical walls, bigotry disappears. I'm not sure what you thought was happening. I mean, it might not be as bad as other schools. I don't know. It could be bad, better, worse. I don't know. But hate exists everywhere. You cannot get rid of it. Going on a tangent, but Israel wants to rid the world of Hamas, which is well and good. But how many of those innocent Palestinians that they're bombing who survive are going to grow up to absolutely loathe Israel and want it destroyed? You certainly cannot destroy hate by bombing the hell out of a country where you're a bunch of people who just trying to live their lives. All you're doing is creating extremists. So, hate is going to exist. You cannot eradicate it. But you're not going to help by saying things like that. The Republican-led House committee announced Thursday it will investigate the policies and disciplinary procedures at Harvard, MIT, and Penn. Separate federal civil rights investigations were previously opened at Harvard, Penn, and several other universities in response to complaints submitted to the U.S. Education Department. Oh, Lord. At Penn, some donors and alumni have been critical of the university's response to anti-Semitic acts on campus, including a swastika drawn inside the design school building and vandalism at the Hillel chapter there. That happened before Hamas's October 7th attack on Israel. As I said, anti-Semitism didn't start with this. So I don't know why these people aren't aware that anti Semitism exists. However, I also know that there's Islamophobia going on too. So it would be nice to address that as well. Because it's not just Jewish people who are being attacked on these campuses. And the fact that they're only focusing on the Jewish students and completely ignoring the Muslim ones doesn't sit too well with me, but the Republicans don't give a shit about Palestine, so I get it. This is all about Israel. The gift from Stevens, shares of his Stone Ridge Holdings Group, were given in 2017 to underwrite the Stevens Center for Innovation in Finance. However, in the letter, his lawyer said Penn's permissive approach to hate speech, calling for violence against Jews, and laissez-faire attitude toward harassment and discrimination likely violate the donor agreement. So that is the end of that article. Oh, wait. No, it's not. The letter said Stevens and Stone Ridge are open to giving Penn a chance to fix the violations if and when there's a new university president in place. So that is the end of that article. And like I said, it was a straightforward question. And she wasn't being combative when she said it. I mean, granted, her voice grates on my nerves. It's like nails on chalkboard. However, she wasn't being combative. She wasn't being, well, maybe she was being a bit snarky, but for the most part, I think to be a Republican candidate, you have to be snarky. But anyway, she didn't yell. She didn't do any theatrics. She just asked a question. And all of the presidents managed to drop the ball. I don't see how that was hard. I mean, I'm just repeating myself at this point. It's just mind-blowing that a university president would actually do that. You would think that they would be, first off, if what Gay is saying is true, they would be more poised. And she's the only one who mentioned being combative. The other two, from what I could see, just said, oh yeah, I screwed up. And like I said, I don't know if they screwed up because they're actually anti-Semitic or because they're just boneheads. And they're like, oh, free speech, free speech, free speech. And we're completely unaware that hate speech is a thing. That it's been a thing for a while and that hate speech leads to action. So, yeah. Yeah, there's nothing more for them to do than to leave because, yeah, they really screwed up. Anyway, that is all I have for that article, and I will see you guys in the next video.